Welcome back to part 2 of refresh settings. In this one, we're going to be jumping into the fixed event query and infinite query modes and discussing that a little bit more. If you haven't seen part 1, please do that now. So the other side of refresh settings is your fixed event query or your infinite scroll mode, right? And fixed event query is pretty straightforward. You're going to get what you get, and you're going to return, this limit number of events. It's going to return those 100, and that's going to be it. But the infinite scroll mode is sort of your social media doom scroll handling, right? So if you want to continually scroll down and load more, like say you're looking at, thousands of events, or you don't know what you're looking for, and you just kind of want to scroll around to infinity or to your heart's content, you can do that with this mode here. Is slightly more complex and is controlled by these different settings, right? So you see row height here is going to be the height of the actual row, and we're going to get a limit of number of items, right? And then there's going to be this other setting, which is display. It's not editable, is a calculated overflow items to render, right? So one of the issues with infinite scroll mode is that it's you could load so many events that there's a way that we have to manage it. And that's comes into this page. So if we have a limit of say like 50 events, you'll see that the overflow items is a 13 extra and is calculated with a total of 39. So when we pull in 50 events, there's going to be 39 events actually rendered on the page, including the window plus a little more plus a little after. And one of the ways to illustrate that is to change the size of the window. So if we actually go and change how many events you can see on your actual page by collapsing a couple things, you'll see that it'll estimate this as 16 extra and a total of 48. And if you ask for something less than the number here in infinite scroll mode, you're gonna get a warning that'll say it's gonna cause by default 2 queries to run. So you should pick something that's bigger than this 48. Right. Going back to our example here, and let me jump over to Excalidraw to illustrate this, is we have, 50 events from the actual database, right? So we're going to pull in, 50 total events, right? That's what we have over here. We had what was that estimation? So 16 events on the other side, on each side of this. So we have 16 over here for overflow. We have 16 down below. Which means we must have, 48? We must have 16 events actually visible on the page, right? So you might be able to have, depending on the size of your window, right? If you're full screen, I'm on a smaller shared version right now, you might have a bigger number here. But of the events that we've queried, we're going to get some overflow, and that'll be on both sides, right? And then we actually have what our window is, right? So this is like what we're actually displaying in the table at any one moment, right? So of these 50, as I get these lined up a little bit, you'll see as you scroll, get this lined up a little bit better, you'll see here what's going on is that we have a scenario where as we move our actual window, right, our actual window that's the size of this 16, we're going to get these already loaded events, so it'll render quite quickly. But as we reach this edge, we're going to ask the database for another set of 50, right? So we'll have this over here, right? And we keep scrolling down, and it's going to continue as we keep scrolling down to keep loading more and more and more events, right? As we start getting into this little trio of set here, will be another one, right? As we keep scrolling down, it'll keep loading those events. And as we sort of reach the edge of what we're running out in, it'll go and load some more. So as we get down to this edge, again, we're going to get that next chunk of 50 down here below. So a little bit complicated. Hopefully this little, deep dive helped you out a little bit, walking through some of those things. So if we go back to kind of our expanded view here, back to where we left off. But one of the cool things to note as an actual user is that when you're in infinite scroll mode, we have a select to edit mentality, right? And what do we mean by select to edit? You'll see that when I click on it, this little drop down to change priority will actually disappear, right? So if it's selected, then I can change it, no problem. If not, you'll see that go away. And one of the things that lets us do is improve performance on large numbers of scrolls. So you can scroll around here and you'll see it's loading more. As I scroll, the scroll window gets smaller, and it'll continue to do that as we go until you run out of query, like run out of events to query, right? So that's a little bit of deep dive there on infinite scroll mode. And it can be, quite handy depending on your use case. One of the other things I wanted to note here is that you can change the row height if you want to see something in like a larger format. Like if I change the default to something like 64, you'll see that it'll expand the actual row itself. And if you go over to cases, you'll see that we've already done this, right? We're trying to put better defaults in for you. We've already set the row height for cases to a larger window. So depending on your situation and what type of events or cases that you're looking at, you may want to play with this and set it to a filter template for later use. So thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one.